I guess given the time I can't say good morning, but this will be the last session before lunch, so we'll try to be efficient and get you there on time. It's been a very informative and good session on economic transformation and drivers of economic growth. And this panel is tasked with the objective of expanding our understanding of economic transformation in Africa, and particularly as it addresses the quality of the growth. And we will focus on the key priority areas for policy and investment, and what needs to be done to further enhance the quality of structural change. I'd like to introduce our panelists. On my left, Mansour Ndiaye, Regional Team Leader for Inclusive Growth, UNDP, based here in Addis. Okay. Mamadou Goita, Executive Director, Institute for Peace, for Research and the Promotion of Alternatives in Development in Mali. Yawansu, Chief Economist, Asset, Africa Center for Economic Transformation, Ghana. Benito Eliassi, Capacity Building Advisor, Southern African Confederation of Agricultural Unions, South Africa. Ethiopia Taddessa, Lecturer at Addis Ababa University, Ethiopia. And as I indicated, we look forward to your input. We will, each of the panelists will have 5 minutes to address questions I'll be posing to them. And if there's time, we can go through a second round and then open it to the floor for further questions. So my first question would be to Mansour. We've heard that growth-enhancing structural change requires labor to move into sectors with high productivity and economic activity, and basically to move from agriculture and rural-based industries towards urban and manufacturing-based industries. So what could the role of international development agencies like UNDP in working with African governments and the private sector do to accelerate the process of such a diversification and transformation of African economies? In 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for inviting the UNDP to participate in this panel discussion. Yes, I've really enjoyed the two presentations that we've just had, and they clearly emphasize that the path to economic transformation will definitely entail diversifying the economies towards higher productivity activities, for one, but also by promoting the transformation of commodities and enhancing their upward integration in regional, local, and global value chains. I think that second part also is extremely important to me. But yet, economic transformation might not be enough. Growth also needs to be inclusive. One of the participants also highlighted it. Growth also needs to be sustainable, because economic growth per se says little about people's well-being. Then what we need is the kind of growth that can reduce poverty, inequalities, while leaving no one behind. What it means that is definitely that we need to nurture sectors where a majority of poor people earn their living, and one such sector is agriculture. We need to have the kind of jobs, the kind of growth that will be creating jobs, supporting small and medium-sized enterprises, creating opportunities, notably for the informal sector, and one of the presentation highlighted that really informal sector is one of the largest. And also make sure that we target the excluded and marginalized groups. And such package of services and measures definitely require governments that are development-minded. One of the presentations also mentioned the lack of commitment of governments. So what we need is a developmental state, and which is definitely a key driver to economic growth. So we would need to have growth that is sustainable, meaning not only sustained in the long run, but also takes into account environmental concerns. We are in the process of economic transformation, so we have to pay attention to the environment. Growth also needs to be risk-informed. If we fail to factor in shocks, then the economic growth process might not be sustainable. Shocks like floods, droughts, political conflicts, and so on. And we have this saying in UNDP that says, if growth is not risk-informed, it's not sustainable. Then, of course, we said that growth also needs to be transformative. And I guess that one I've been discussing, quite widely. But the last part is growth needs to be inclusive. And I think that is really important. Against that background, what UNDP does is that its work is leveraging the imperative of this development agenda. Our regional program and country programs are built around three main components. One is inclusive development. The second is effective governance. And the third is resilient societies. What we do is basically to do advocacy. And for that, we have flagship reports, like the Human Development Report, which goes a bit beyond the measurement of poverty by taking, a multidimensional perspective, looking both at not only income, education, but also health, which tells us more about how growth is, impacting people's lives. We also look at MDG. MDG reports are, one of our flagship reports also, and those are both global and national. And definitely, we also provide development advisory services to governments, engaging them, sharing with them best practices, lessons learned. And one such example of putting together all this package of support has been the first Africa Emergence Conference that UNDP with other partners organized in Abidjan back in March this year. The whole idea of the conference was to help countries have a shared vision and plan over the medium and long term. So what is needed is definitely to support countries in a variety of areas, and I would just focus on the key ones. First, engage with the private sector. That is a very important one. As you know, we are all embarking on the new SDG agenda, and it has been very clearly shown that the cost of the SDG agenda cannot be covered by ODA. ODA would not cover more than 1/20th of the cost. So the private sector needs to chip in. It needs to be engaged in order to provide opportunities in terms of funding this whole agenda. Second thing is, countries need to fund this agenda. Then with the kind of support we're providing is to help them widen their fiscal space and mobilize domestic resources. Third aspect that is very important is we support government, improve the economic and financial governance, promote the rule of law, fight corruption, and illicit financial flows. Then one very important aspect is also to support government, enhance their responsibility and accountability for results. And then again, what is needed is strong institutions. So these are basically the package of services that UNDP is providing, both to government, but also engaging the private sector in order to promote this transformative, inclusive, yet sustainable development agenda. I wish to thank you.